Slaven is with you, and welcome to Evolution of Command and Conquer Games.
Someone's gonna pay. I have to carry this around.
Command and Conquer is a 1995 real-time strategy video game. Developed by Westwood Studios, the game tells the story of a world war between two globalized factions, the Global Defense Initiative of the United Nations and a cult-like militant organization called the Brotherhood of Nod. In 1996, Westwood released an expansion pack, the Covert Operations, adding 15 new missions and unlocking an Easter egg mini-campaign involving dinosaurs. The missions can be played in any order and are noticeably more difficult. Command and Conquer Red Alert was released in 1996. The player takes control of either the Allies or the Soviets as he battles for destiny of the planet. Gameplay features are similar to those of the previous game, including building a base with some defenses. Command and Conquer Red Alert Counterstrike was released in 1997. This add-on adds 16 new single-player missions, 8 for each side. Unlike the main game, there is no storyline to connect the missions, so they can be played in any order. Command and Conquer Red Alert The Aftermath was released in 1997. This add-on introduces new fully playable units: Chrono Tank, Demolition Truck, Field Mechanic, Tesla Tank, Shock Trooper, MAD Tank, Phase Transport, and Missile Sub. Command and Conquer Red Alert Retaliation New was released in 1998. Additions include specially produced cutscenes, an improved interface for the control pad users, and a special-to-player mode where to play stations. Command and Conquer Tiberian Sun is a 1999 real-time strategy game set in the year 2030. The Earth is now heavily contaminated with the alien crystalline substance known as Tiberium, and is becoming less habitable with time. DLC Firestorm adds to new campaigns with 9 missions each. Both campaigns are entirely canonical and occur simultaneously, which is a first for the Command and Conquer series. But this time they are entirely linear and there are no side missions like in Tiberian Sun. Command and Conquer Red Alert 2 was released in 2000. Red Alert 2 takes place approximately 2 decades since the first Red Alert, and, unlike the original, has no relation at all to the Tiberium universe. Command and Conquer Red Alert 2 Yuri's Revenge was released in 2001. The game is centered on a shadowy ex-Soviet figure named Yuri, who has established a secret army of his own and poses a threat to the free will of the world. Command and Conquer Renegade is a first-person 3D shooter set in the Command and Conquer universe. Game progression is mission-driven. Most missions have primary, secondary, and tertiary objectives. The multiplayer emulates RTS gameplay to a larger extent. Command and Conquer Generals features real-world weapons, combined with quasi-high-tech ones, new control schemes, and a fast-paced multiplayer. Set somewhere in the 2020s, pits 3 sides for global domination. Command and Conquer Generals 0 Hour is the expansion pack. For the 2003 game, 0 Hour added several new abilities and units to each side, and a new mode of play called General's Challenge, along with a lot more changes and new features. Command and Conquer 3 Tiberium Wars is a 2007 science fiction real-time strategy video game developed and published by Electronic Arts. The game story sees the Global Defense Initiative and the Brotherhood of Nod engage in a new global conflict. Command and Conquer 3 Kane's Wrath is an expansion pack. For the 2007 game, story revolves around the seemingly immortal leader of the Brotherhood of Nod, Kane and recounts his ascent to power after narrowly escaping death in the year 2034. Command & Conquer: Red Alert 3 is a 2008 real-time strategy video game. The Soviet leadership, facing defeat, goes back in time to kill Albert Einstein and prevent his assistance to the Allies, paving the way for Soviet domination in the present. Command & Conquer: Red Alert 3 Uprising is a 2009 real-time strategy video game. It features about 30 new maps for traditional skirmish, with many of these taking place in new environments. It does not contain any multiplayer elements such as cooperative play, online play. Command & Conquer 4: Tiberian Twilight is a 2010 real-time strategy video game. In the main game mode, the player must capture control nodes scattered across a map and retain more nodes than the enemy player, gaining enough points over time to win the match. Command & Conquer: Tiberium Alliances is a browser military science fiction, massively multiplayer online real-time strategy video game. The player will first select a sector on the world map and start their first base there. Command & Conquer Rivals is a 2018 free-to-play real-time strategy mobile game for Android and iOS. The player can play as GDI or Brotherhood of Nod, with each faction offering unique abilities and units. Players are tasked to control platforms surrounding the missile silo. Command & Conquer Remastered Collection is a 2020 remaster of the first two titles in the real-time strategy video game series Command & Conquer, with rebuilt graphics and sound improvements and bonus materials. Command & Conquer Legions is a mobile game developed by Level Infinite, a development studio under Tencent. Players can engage in real-time PvE and PvP battles against other factions as they collect Tiberium.
On my command.